learn all state music every day for about an hour or so. And the requirements are pretty extensive. So depending on the grade level, first of all, there's an orchestra for 7th, 8th grade, 9th, 10th together, and 11th and 12th. And just to give you an example of how exclusive it is, for example, the middle school orchestra, 7th, 8th, there's only 70 or 72 students out of the entire state that get to perform in this. We're thinking it's 36 violins total, 14 violas, 12 cellos, and 8 basses out of the entire state. That's it. So it's very, very competitive. So students practice all week long, and what we love about the process is, of course we love for them to make it to all-state, right? We love that, but obviously everybody can't. But the progress that they make doing that process, going through that process, is immense. They go from here, and they go from here, and we're just so proud of them whether they make it or not. And they learn some really valuable skills, and they learn grit. They work hard. So part of the requirements are scales. And for middle school, it's up to 3 sharps and 3 flats. I won't bore you with all the requirements specifically, but a whole bunch of scales. And the day of the audition, the auditioners choose one of those scales out of the many, many they learn. Depending on the grade level, they will either have 2 etudes, 2 studies that they have to prepare, or a study and a piece of legitimate music from the standard repertoire for that instrument. So today, we have 3 students who are going to demonstrate the scale, the excerpt, and the etude, all right, for their respective instruments. So please welcome Cece, Garrett, and Graham.
And so when they walk into the audition room, there's a person in there that's reading them the script. They're not judging their audition, they're just facilitating the recording of their audition. So I'm going to pretend this is going to be a mock audition. It's going to be what they experience when they walk into that recording room. So they'll be given the instructions, they'll be told what they're going to play, they'll be given the sections of their excerpt or etude to play, and then when the recording starts, it sounds something like this. Please play the C major 2-octave scale in arpeggio. You will now play the first etude. process that we're after for improvement for them. So without further ado, we will begin our orchestra concert. So we've got 5 pieces for you. Simple square dance. Do we want to announce as we go or just say it?
Yeah, now you go.
Okay, we'll start with simple square dance. It's not an Italian term or a French term or a Latin term, it's groove thing. That operate the finances and the building operations. Cindy Graves, who runs everything as the pastor's secretary. Mackenzie Lee, who this summer was over all the summer camps. David Cook, who helps with the summer camps. And there's a couple of others that are always just around. Whatever you need, they are always there to help. And we are just so appreciative of the people here and of the space. It's just a really precious people with a heart for serving. And so just take a quick minute and let's thank them. Minotaur, of course, based on the mythology, and it is quite literally a beast of a beast. Thank